Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got full rockin' my gun out there.
It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
Oh, this hard goddamn work being this good.
One more again, see what I take on your front set, I swear.
You ain't my daddy, are you?
There's gonna be consequences and repercussions.
What time is it? Game time proof.
Okay. Welcome to the Don't Be Blasé podcast. We are coming to you live from the Horseshit Bar, otherwise known as Pauseville. I am your host, B. Carolina, joined as always by my man Steve Burrows.
Good evening, you motherfucker.
Before we get started, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Larry and Ladd. Go see the boys from Ridge Arcade, get yourself an awesome coffee to some pretty sweet tunes. But for now, on with the show. Now, this is a crossover episode. We are at the Horseshit Bar. We are with some good friends, and Steve is very, very drunk. So, excuse the slurring, but Steve's going to introduce our co-host for this evening.
All right, I'll tell you what it is, man. I've got it. I'm fine. I'm not drunk at all. All right, I've got three of the finest. Well, actually, two and Cannibal. All right, Thank you. We have got three old buddies of ours. Cannibal Chris Taylor. Say hello.
Hey, how you going?
Real deal Steve O'Neill.
Just would have been happy with Steve O'Neill, but anyway.
Just say hello, man.
Hello, how are you going, guys?
And the difference, Tyler Daniels.
Hey, Steve, good to see you here, mate.
Thank you. Over to you, Speed.
You've really just thrown me out of the bus there.
Now then, can I just ask you a question?
Hit me up, mate.
What's with Pauseville?
I live in the eastern suburbs, mate. I frown upon anything this side of Regency Road. But you guys are going to get involved in something that we love doing at our show. Now, one thing we love doing is hanging shit on things and people that aren't up to snuff, okay? So we're going to have your votes in the Don't Be Blasé Shit Bloke Awards.
Oh, I've heard this little segment you've got going.
Can we get a little bit of theme music?
We'll get the theme music.
About six seconds worth.
Many are born, folks, but only a select few are truly eligible for the Shit Bloke Awards.
Chris Taylor, if you got any votes for us, 3, 2, 1, or any of the above Shit Bloke Awards, hit me.
I'm just going to give 3 votes to Wayne Rooney because he's a wanker for going to fucking DC United. There
we go. Short, sharp, concise. I like this sort of thing. Now, a name that's not short, sharp, or concise, Tyler Daniels. What have you got for us?
I'm gonna have 1, 2, and a 3, boys.
Of course you do. Because of course you do.
Love the talking old Tyler.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, look, one thing I can do is talk, Steve. You know that. In fact, thank you for throwing to me, Steve, because 1 vote goes to 1 S. Burrows.
I like it.
I've been listening to your show from day one. I am one of the very few, one of the tens and tens of your listeners.
So you're the guy that's been listening.
10 times over.
I just want to throw 1 vote to S. Burrows for just single-handedly putting an entire demographic of public transport travellers under the bus. All right? And if you don't know what I mean, go back and listen to these boys' earlier shows, because I tell you what, this poor bloke Greg, and I'm going to say Greg is he is the epitome of a complete demographic of middle-aged gentlemen who's minding their own business, having, and let's face it, what I just found out a little bit earlier, if you don't mind, a gentleman who goes to the gym in the morning, doesn't shower, travels on the public transport unshowered, and he's worried about and he's worried about what other people are doing on the bus.
You're not wrong there, because the story we've just heard of is Steve not only doesn't shower on the way to work after the gym, but as we know, Steve's a stander on the gym,
absolutely.
On the train, doesn't sit. So where does that arm go to support? He's hanging, dirty armpit.
Hang on.
Get on with the votes.
Disgusting.
Disgusting. I'm more concerned if he's a stander, that means crotch height is sitting for those that are sitting. So 1 vote, S. Burrows.
That's fair. We'll accept that.
2 votes.
He's going all 3, is he?
I've got 1, 2, and 3.
He's got 1, 2, and 3.
No.
2 votes to the production team of The Chase, because I've got some mail that there was an absolutely fantastic joke that was actually said that popped one Andrew O'Keefe that didn't make air.
That's true.
Oh, I haven't heard this.
There might be some story on that. I won't go too in for that. I'm just saying the production team, whoever the producer is, executive producer, whatever it is, the editing team from The Chase.
It's the editing team. The producers enjoyed my gags.
Yes. So
there was a joke made about the zoo fitness. they was discussing, what we do for zoo
Yeah.
fitness and the gorilla crawls
Yes.
and the gecko walks.
I did see that, yep.
Andrew O'Keefe goes, well, I don't know much about that, but I have been given a squirrel grip on occasion. And I said, mate, you got to pay extra for that. And he just broke out laughing, and I'm standing there going, this is never going to make TV. And I was correct, it didn't make TV, but that was my best bit. That was that's my A material. If you don't let me get a little bit blue at 5 in the afternoon, I've got nothing.
So 2 votes, editing team of the producer of The Chase. 3 votes to our own S. O'Neill.
Oh! He's straight on the show, hasn't even said a word, and he's getting potted.
Hang on a
votes-
second.
Hang on, 3 votes S. O'Neill, because I know, we've said it many times, the good lady Mrs. O'Neill
Hang on.
does enjoy a lovely drop of Crown Royal maple. And I know, and you know as well, that for the last 3 to 4 weeks, you're supposed to have replenished the stock for one Miss S. O'Neill.
Don't know what you're talking about on
Well,
this occasion.
I'll just get the lovely Mrs. O'Neill.
No, hang on a second. Well, I'm sure we can sort this out.
So I'm just saying, look, for not replenishing that, not keeping the happy wife, happy life.
I'll be honest, some of the guests that are in this bar don't mind a bit of the old Crown Maple either.
Absolutely. So
Now we're getting to the real reason why it's not replenished.
There's some ulterior motive. I'm not going to deny that. However, for that reason alone, 3 votes, S. O'Neill.
It's called Pawsville because it just gets poured that often. That's what I'm saying.
What have you got for us, Steve?
All right, now 1 vote
Yep.
is for a guy, Speed, you'll know, very fondly as a matter of fact, Mike Tomlin.
There we go. Yes. The coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes,
My beloved Pittsburgh Steelers.
absolutely. For no other reason than they're your beloved Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay.
Number 2, I'm going to go back to home with me.
There we go.
Khalil Mack.
There we go.
Doesn't turn up to training camp.
Yes.
Holding out. He's guy's on a rookie contract.
Hasn't even spoken to your coach.
Hasn't even spoken to the coach. So just to prove to you that I'm not one-eyed, gotta put Khalil Mack, all pro.
I'm enjoying so much about this. The fact that me and you are really enjoying this, and the other 3 here are giving us the blankest of stares.
Don't know what we're talking about at all, do they?
Right? It's all a different language.
Gridiron fucking
Oh,
talk.
there we go. That's,
See what I mean?
He's on it.
Do we need to say more? Guy calls it gridiron.
It's not football.
1 vote, C. Taylor.
It's not football.
3
Fucking
votes.
hell.
That's right. That's right.
Votes.
Come through. What have you got for your 3rd vote, mate?
Hannah Mounsey. Now, if you don't know who that is,
Interesting.
I don't know if I went too early on this occasion.
That's okay.
But
Give us a reason why.
our man friend that's playing in the Women's League, I think that it's a little bit...
Wanting to play in the women's AFL.
No, well... Yeah,
Has
no,
gained the...
No, she's not playing in the Women's AFL. She's not allowed to, which is fair enough, but she's playing in the lower levels, and which I don't agree with. She's a monster. She's massive. Bigger than Jonathan Brown. There's actually a photo where, our good friend Blase showed us. It's got Hannah Mounsey holding Arnold Schwarzenegger with Andre the Giant. And just dwarfing the 2 colleagues.
If you don't mind.
I'll tell you what, if there's any chance that we can substitute a Steve out for a Steve in, I think, Burrows, you're on thin ice, you might be leaving. It might be the Spee and Steve O'Neill show going
goodness.
forward. I'm just saying. But the Hannah Mounsey thing is interesting. Because
I know how you feel.
for me, this isn't a I don't prescribe to the traditional that's a bloke playing trying to play girls footy. To me, if someone wants to be transgender, that's the way they feel, that's the way they want to be. That's fine. I'm not going to judge either way.
No.
Same way that I didn't get up in arms about Caitlyn Jenner, but by the same token, I also think this now becomes, because I'm a big fan of the sports and stuff, this becomes a drugs and sport issue.
Oh.
The thing is, Hannah Mounsey was, let's be honest, was born a male, was living most of her adult life as a male, so has been sort of, as all males do, we do produce a hell of a lot of testosterone that a female athlete would not be privy to.
Yep.
Now, she's only been off on sort of the hormone replacement therapy for about a year. So therefore, she has still got more testosterone than any sort of female athlete there is out there. So to me, this is essentially just a drug cheat trying to now play a sport.
Wow.
If there was anyone else that had been gassed up for a year, or for many years, took a year off that was clean, any other sporting code would be like, well, hang on a tick, there's something not right about this.
Lance Armstrong kind of thing.
Exactly. It's not one of those things that's going to, your urine sample burned a hole in the bottom of the cup.
Yep.
I'm not going to accept that. And that's purely from this is a bloke playing girls sport. This is what would technically be, quote unquote, a drug cheat in another sport. That's my issue with her trying to get into the AFLW. Yeah.
Hence my 3 votes.
There you go.
Certainly got nothing to do with transgender or anything like
I had
that.
a hint of that.
Do you think- just some undertones, is that what you're saying there? Absolutely doesn't.
How about you, Speedy? You got any Shit Bloke Award votes?
No, not really this week, other than yourself, Steve. This is actually a topic that I'd like to bring up with you guys because, I mean, we are
Shit blokes?
of about the same age. This is not. It's very rare. This is for our listener. This is one of the great days for me because this is one of the few times that I'm the youngest person in the room. But we grew up in a very similar era of sports and entertainment.
Yep.
We grew up with our heroes being guys like your Van Dams, your Schwarzeneggers, your Hulk Hogans. You know, we saw guys that were larger than life and, you know, these big, giant athletes.
Yep.
Now, we discussed on your show, we did a crossover with the HSP podcast. We discussed, you know, who are the greatest Australian athletes of all time.
Yes.
And we all kind of went from the same era. You know, and it's because those guys from that era did seem a little bit bigger. I mean, admittedly, it was for us, we were children, it makes it a little bit more important.
Yep.
But what does the drugs in sport aspect bring to it? Because, you know, like my favourite baseball player is Barry Bonds, who played for the Giants. I'm a Giants fan. But he's one of those guys that's under a steroid cloud. You know?
Raging drug addict.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and it's one of those things like, but that's one of the things. That's they always say that the steroids in baseball is what saved baseball. You know, and we talk about all these athletes like we're big UFC fans, we're big wrestling fans.
Yep.
We saw guys that were huge. You know, and heavyweight boxing isn't what it used to be. Steve, we were talking
Absolutely.
about how, you know, all the heavyweight champions.
Yep.
You listed them all. You know,
No question, and you make a very fair point. Now the question is do we just say, you know what, fuck it, let's just go your hardest, do whatever you need to do. If you've got 3 eyes, you know, then so be it. You know, I honestly believe there should be a steroid Olympics.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I don't think it's like it needs to be a steroid Olympics. I mean, because if you've listened to, like, Steve and I listened to Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yes.
And about a year ago or so, he had Lance Armstrong on. And Lance did discuss, you know, like, he was like, so Joe Rogan asked him, he goes, right, if they had to give the Tour de France to the guy that wasn't using anything, he goes, who would have won it? He goes, I don't know, the guy that finished 26th. And even Joe Rogan, who's always been a sort of anti-sports and drug sport guy, he went, oh, so you won that race? It's like, of course he won that race. I mean, like, everyone's doing it, so therefore it's still a level playing field.
Yeah, but I think stigma, you know, if we just say, yeah, fuck it, everyone knows. So everyone knows that that's what you're getting.
I think the thing
And then where does the line? Sorry, where does the line get drawn? I mean, Joe Rogan, huge marijuana advocate.
Yes.
Is that a performance-enhancing drug in terms of steroids, in terms of sleep, in terms of recovery?
It is in the
It's
sport
absolutely
of billiards.
Well, and I'm sure it's on every ASADA and WADA list there is.
It's not actually. It's not a performance enhancing drug.
Banned
but it is
drug.
a banned substance.
Yeah.
But then that's the big issue they have with with our love of the NFL.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like there is bans in the NFL as far as using
Yeah.
marijuana, even though there's teams that play in states where marijuana is legal.
Yeah. So, I mean, drugs in sport, I say, fuck it, go your hardest.
Go your hardest, Steve.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. One of my biggest sporting heroes was Ben Johnson, and he actually got done twice.
Physically biggest.
Yeah, actually, he was a fucking beast. The thing is, for me, is the marijuana thing. I've heard a lot of NFL football players who said they smoked a lot in their careers because it helped them with
For sure,
injuries.
for sure. My,
Pain relief.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
You know, and obviously we're going through a time in general, you know, where governments are now talking about legalising
yeah,
cannabis.
medicinal, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So to me, I'm kind of on the same thought train as Steve-O, is the drugs thing. But what's interesting is that I just see the other day that the Olympic Committee had talked about doing esports.
No.
Yeah, what's it go with the what's it go with a few monsters, a few Red Bulls? What's it go with that, man?
Cheetos, got to ban those Cheetos for those esport athletes.
I mean, we're just. I mean, this is where, like, drawing back to the esports is the most ridiculous thing of all time. I refuse to give these nerds airtime.
Got him started here,
I've got a
Steve.
story on that if you want it. I can if you want it.
Yeah, lead us in, mate. Lead us in. But I don't. Almost refuse to give these guys airtime. But you hit us with your story,
Okay. Well, firstly, just on the drugs thing, I get where you're coming from when you're with the whole concept. Let them go for it.
Yep.
I think then it becomes, we've got to be careful with what that means from a physical perspective on health.
A bit of a
aspects.
safety issue you're talking about?
I think
Because
so.
if dudes are hitting hard, could you kill
that,
dudes?
There's
or what?
that as well as what effect is that. And we know that, back in the day, your stanozol and all of those sort of anabolic steroids and the effect they had on people's hearts and thin the walls and all that. So for me, it's more about what damage is that doing to the human being. Because, hopefully you get through a career and you have to live as well. So for me, I get what you're saying. My issue is not about the performance aspect. It's what is that doing to the human being and their livelihood of being able to live as a human being.
It's got a little bit of PC about it.
Well,
that
not
does, doesn't
PC,
it?
health issue, I just think. But
Okay.
the other side of that was esports.
Yep.
Now, did you guys realise there's actually 2 AFL clubs, a bit of a crossover, who actually now have esport teams?
And one of them is one of the ones that got busted for drugs because they're clearly on it.
Well, hang on a second. The first team to do it was actually the Adelaide Crows.
Oh,
The Adelaide
if I
Crows.
didn't need another reason.
Oh, I know. The Adelaide Crows bought into an established esport team, and they haven't given them the name
Forward
Crows.
thinking.
Yep.
Absolutely.
The second team who have done it recently, I saw a story on it, it's actually Essendon. They've bought into it, but they've actually given them the Essendon Football Club name to the team. Now, the interesting thing about that is, I know where you're going with this. However, we think esports, sitting down at the computer, drinking your energy drinks and whatever, and just... These guys actually go to the club rooms. They actually train. They're actually in the gym with the strength and conditioning coaches for that.
You're going to fire him up here.
Well, I'm just saying. This is what they do. They
You're
actually
getting into
go.
boats territory here. I didn't have a suggestion before.
Hey, I'm just saying. Hey, don't shoot the messenger, champ. Hey, I'm just bringing the news, mate. All
I
right?
don't think if you listen to this show, my whole job is to shoot messages.
You know me. If there's a spark of a fire, I will throw gasoline. You know that.
Don't hate the player, hate the esports guy.
Absolutely. But hang on, esports. I've got another stat for you that you are going to fucking hate in a minute. These guys, they actually they train at the club. They are looked after. They're paid. They're absolutely sporting athletes. Apparently, e-athletes. They're shipped off for these televised events, etc. in Sydney and stuff. Now, the esports grand final last year actually had more viewers than the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that because I mean, look at there's a whole streaming platform called Twitch, where people literally watch other people play video games. Now, I'm not against video games. I've played them my whole life. I still play them now. I'm fucking addicted to Candy Crush on my phone, for fuck's sake. That's like the shittest game ever.
Candy Crush?
Oh yeah, mate, that's pathetic. I can admit it. That's
Goodness.
It's my that's.
I'll whoop your ass on FIFA.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. It's like I don't understand the watching of other people playing video. I always thought video games was like a personal thing. You were in the game,
No, I'm
you
with
play
you
it
there.
yourself.
I'm
I've
with
never understood the watching, other than like I've been at there was a bar once that's set up in Adelaide, beautiful Adelaide, down in Laneway.
It was a pop-up, wasn't it?
It was a pop-up bar, and they had projected on one of the walls was Super Nintendo NBA Jam, and they had the controller sitting there. So literally anyone that was sitting there at this club could sit there and
nice.
play it. Now, even
on
all us
fire.
blokes were in our 20s and that sort of stuff. Mate, there was a lineup of lads like, can I play next? And everyone was standing there waiting, and everyone's watching the game because it became like it was like a mates thing. We all played that game growing up. We all loved it, and we all watched it. It was funny. Any other guy that walked past the alleyway where this was projected on the wall would duck under the screen. Sorry, boys. Whereas girls were just oblivious and walking straight past. It was like, hey,
What the fuck you doing?
it's one of those things that I understand it brings people together, and I understand that it generates money, and therefore
Well,
these guys defer.
huge
Yeah.
dollars involved. So just on that though, is that the projected video games? Is that the new age version of having an 8-ball table at a pub?
Pretty much.
It's
not far
Here's
off.
my 20. I've got next game, boys. Next game. Winner. I'll take winner. Yeah.
I don't think they're paying 20 cents, mate. You're showing your age there. But I mean, just going back to the drugs and sports thing with Essendon, this is the reason why, like I said, there needs to be a level somewhere. There needs to be a line. Now, with the NFL, they won't allow marijuana, but by the same token, they also don't test for human growth hormone. Because they understand...
They don't test?
They do not test for human
Wow.
growth hormone.
That's interesting,
Because
isn't it?
A, it's very hard to detect, and B, they understand the stress those guys' bodies are under, and they know that human growth hormone will help their recovery. They don't want to allow their recovery help, their pain relief to come from marijuana. They'd rather these guys OD on painkillers, which is even worse, but they don't test. So it's there is a fine line. Sometimes sports will test, sometimes they won't. But then I'm of the theory of okay, let them use it to an extent, and some guys will just naturally not want to use it. If you said, all right, you guys are allowed to use 1 mil of testosterone a week, that's it. It's all right, cool. You might sort of even the playing field.
It's hard to test.
So much. Good pun. But it's one of those things that even with Essendon, like when they got busted, did you notice that no other AFL team raised a finger? No one said anything.
Don't look at me.
All they did was, like, when Essendon got busted, all the rest of them went, those NRL guys are doing it too. Like, no one in the AFL said shit. And the thing that always tipped me off that made me laugh, and I've said this before on the show, Nick Riewoldt. Everyone knows Nick Riewoldt.
Yep.
At the time, had a grade 2 tear in his hamstring. And that takes 28 days to recover. He came back in 3 weeks. Now, I don't know if your maths is as good as mine, but 28 days is 4 weeks.
Days.
Yeah, he's come back in 3 weeks. Maybe there's something that's helping speed up the recovery for that. Maybe something peptidey. This is the reason why the other clubs didn't say shit.
Big
Yeah, Nick Reaver, I wouldn't expect he took any kind of performance-enhancing drugs. That rig of his. It was a dreadful rig. But what I was thinking about the NFL thing is that also, and what's the old term, what's best for business, is that no one wants to see normal-sized NFL football players. No. Look, this is at the end of the day, business decisions are being made. We're talking about billions of dollars here.
Absolutely.
And, you can't have no, I don't get me, I don't know position, so correct me if I'm wrong, or linebackers and fucking, who are, 180 pounds or 85 kilos.
No,
we want to see behemoths. Yeah. Like the wrestling, man. And that's why, quickly shout out to the wrestling. I can't watch wrestling anymore, man. I'm not interested in wrestling, whether it's the storylines, whether it's the athletes, whatever.
The guys
but
aren't as big as what they used
I
to be.
can't stand to watch dudes.
It's hard to watch people with wrestling that aren't any bigger than we are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just like when we were kids, these guys were and felt
Superhuman.
enormous.
Yeah, well, you look at Seth Rollins, you look at fucking... he's not as big as what the guys used to be, man.
He's not even as big as us.
Even The Miz, he's not that big.
No.
Dean Ambrose and fucking... They're just not that fucking big, man.
No. And it's one of those things that does sort of like, in essentially a somewhat scripted combat.
Yeah.
If you're going to make people suspend their disbelief, they'll suspend their disbelief if they think the guy
to an extent.
legitimately could kick their ass.
Yeah.
Now, if you're looking in the ring and the guy's no bigger than anyone sitting next to you, then you kind of get like, why am I watching these guys fake fight again?
And especially, why am I paying tickets, or why am I buying pay-per-views, or another thing, a big UFC fan, if you watch the UFC now. Actually, an interesting article I saw the other day is Anderson Silva. They and I only caught a little bit of the segment, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw that he was. It was found that his supplement was tainted, so it wasn't actually something he did on purpose. So he'll be free to fight shortly.
Well, I remember him claiming that at the time. That
it
wasn't him. Something had happened to that. Yeah,
that's right. And John Jones is claiming the same thing. He's saying,
Really?
"Look, it's not me. It's the supplement company."
Which cocaine that made me do it.
Which
Cocaine's one hell of a drug.
Well, there's reason, but Anderson Silva is free to fight soon.
Wow.
Okay.
And he was done in the last fight against who the fuck he fought, Gastelum or whatever his name was. Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't even have that fight. I can't remember what happened. But anyway, he's free to go. So interesting enough, because Anderson Silva, obviously, he doesn't have that, Adonis kind of body. He's quite lean and stuff. But
And arguably the best fighter of all
Belfort and your mate Vanderlei Silva.
Yeah.
Look at their bodies, how they've diminished over the years, man. I was thinking, UFC is one of those things that is a pro and a con. It would be amazing to see these, testosterone up dudes having a fight, but at the same time, it'd be the most unsafe probably sport I've ever seen with dudes capable of murdering people.
Just a crossover from the wrestling to the UFC. The old Ken Shamrock.
Yeah.
When he came across from UFC to WWE, he was a beast. He was huge and a monster. And the thing was, you had Dan Severn that came across at the same time, and that was the contrast right there. You had Dan Severn, who was an animal. Don't get me wrong, but you're talking
Didn't
about
look the part, no.
absolutely didn't look the part. Ken
Tank
Shamrock.
Abbott. Tank Abbott's another one.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there you go. But you could just see the difference there was that Ken Shamrock just roided up all the way, versus a Dan Severn who was just an animal of a fighter. So, no, I hear you.
Interesting that we can't get behind people because of their body shapes. I mean, it makes sense, Spee, as why you don't like women's wrestling. I mean, you just can't buy into it.
No, I didn't say I didn't like women's wrestling. I've said before, like my favourite at wrestler at the moment, my favourite match at WrestleMania was Charlotte Flair.
Yep.
You know, and I'm all for characters and I'm all for story. With wrestling, like I said, you guys, like I said, I grew up coming up in wrestling with, you know, both Steves here in attendance being superior to me athletically. You guys were great. Steve's body gave out at him pretty early because he just liked to flip off fucking things that were way too high, and the other one's just fat and lazy. I'll let you decide which one's which. But I always grew up in, like I said, our era now of wrestling. Like, what I loved was the stories. You know, I've said it many times on other podcasts. The very first match I remember was a match between Bret Hart and the Barbarian. You know, and the story was simple. Bret Hart was a wrestler. You know, and like he did the holds and the moves and stuff. And the Barbarian was just a big 6'5" jack dude that just clubbed guys and beat him up. And the whole match was pretty slow. He just literally just kept hitting him. Bret goes down. Bret tries to grab an armbar. He clotheslines him. Blah 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 blah. Just this guy's trying to pull wrestling holds, getting his ass kicked. Anyway, halfway through the match, throws him off the ropes. Barbarian ducks down. Bret Hart does a sunset flip. Barbarian blocks it by dropping to his knees, hits the double bicep pose. Bret flicks his feet up, rolls him up. 1, 2, 3. That was it. He used the wrestling hold to beat the big brute.
Yep.
And that made sense. You could suspend your disbelief with that because
Good psychology.
They told a great story. There was a wrestler who used wrestling moves to beat the giant muscle guy who was just brute strength.
Yep.
Nowadays, everyone wants to be everything all the time. Oh, I'm a wild man, but watch me use my awesome submission holds. It's like, fucking what? Like, that doesn't work, you know, in as far as sort of suspending disbelief. You can't do that sort of thing in today's and expect people to believe it, you know. So you need to have sort of situations where, like, if you're not going to have these guys that are large in life, they're going to tell stories. Yeah. And that's the reason why, like, you're trying to throw me under the bus with the women's wrestling thing there.
No, I didn't.
But the Charlotte Flair and Asuka fight from WrestleMania, that told a great story.
Yeah.
And that's why I was hooked in on that one. And if you put Charlotte Flair in the ring with Ronda Rousey, I'm going to watch that because it's going to be a great story.
Yep.
So I'm just a sucker for a good story.
And a good body.
Doesn't hurt.
Just speaking of the whole drugs in sport and the performance of athletes and what they're capable of, I just want to, just Burrows.
Goodness.
Been some really just beast-like sort of feats of strength from you of late. I'm just wondering how that's going. Are you on the peptides, my friend? Are you on the old human growth hormone to get these 270s that you're talking about?
The only USADA restricted thing I'm wearing is the old Rocky Monero t-shirt. Get on it, folks. If you want a bit of
they're a
strength.
banned substance, are they?
They should be because they gave me... Well, evidently...
$25, Rocky Monero Facebook, just hit me up.
Evidently, that t-shirt gives you an extra 10%. I tried... I spoke about it the other week or two about trying to deadlift the 270. It hasn't gone well. I've had tonsillitis this week.
You don't live with your tonsils, mate.
Tyler.
No excuse, man. No excuse.
No, but there's a lot.
Excuses.
No, that's true. There's a lot of.
For those playing at home, you should see
Trying to lift some tonsils.
one speaker Arowana just loving the life of not having to be the one who rags on Steve today.
No, it does take a lot of intestinal fortitude. And speaking of intestinal fortitude, I've got something for you guys. You know what sucks? Because I haven't had my chance to give my votes, by the way. No. And I would like to give quickly one vote to Tyler for just trashing me earlier. For no other reason. Coming on my show.
Yeah, Tyler.
And then throwing me under the MF and Buzz. So I'm going to give him one vote. He's on the leaderboard, Spee. Down with that? The other votes I'm going to give it to is the old rectum. And I'll let you tell you about the old rectum.
Okay, all right.
Is that a nickname of someone we're supposed to know?
It's
indie wrestling?
It's a new wrestling move.
No, I'm actually referring to the orifice at the back end of you.
So the sphincter, yeah?
The actual rectum.
The rectum. Let me tell you a story, people. So, you know, like I've got a formula every day, a bit of a plan, a bit of a fucking routine. It is waking up at 4:45, getting up, have a quick coffee, get my shit ready, head down the gym,
then straight up the rectum.
Straight up the 260 deadlifts.
Oh, so we're talking about caffeine enema.
Yeah.
Straight to the rectum. Is that what
No. Rectum has not yet been not yet entered the stage.
Yep.
Do my 260s, couple of flexes.
Like they're nothing, apparently.
No, you know.
Depends which t-shirt he's wearing.
That's right. Jump on the old public transport. Have a bit of a yarn to Greg. And who's Greg?
By the way, let's just not throw too much shade, Greg.
What's on the scroll today?
How you doing, Nancy?
Speaking of dirty.
And then heading to work, quick poop, shower, and on with the day. Now! Here we go. The last couple of days, I've been dealing with a bout of tonsillitis, hence no video on the 270s. Anyway, so this morning I wake up at 6:45.
Okay.
6:45,
Sleep
get
in.
up, sleep in, jump. First thing, have a quick coffee, jump in the shower, get dressed, off the way to work. The problem is, the old rectum. He wasn't on the same routine as me. So what happened is that I get to work, and he's like, "Dude, you got to take a shit." The thing is, I've already had a shower. Now I'm giving the voice to the rectum because what happens?
I've never heard anything like it.
Yeah, I'm giving it to you now, bros. I go to work. I have a poop at 8 o'clock. I got a dirty ass all day long. Now, toilet paper, yes, I agree with. Toilet paper does a good job, but it's not quite the shower gel I'm used to. I'm just giving the votes.
This sounds like an OC health and safety thing with your work. They need to install a bidet
I've got a
and
question.
really kind of solve the issue.
My question here is, do you feel like you need to shower after every... Are you a one poop a day kind of guy?
I'm a one poop a day during work hours type of day. Yeah, for sure. So I'm a like a 8 to 4
Interesting.
4 p.m. I'm a one pooper. I'll get home, pre-dinner poop. Then I'll have dinner. The wife asked me to dry the dishes. I've got to do a poop again. That's the third pooper. And then depending on how the day goes, if how much I'm eating a little bit at the moment, I might do a fourth poop. But that's my routine.
4 shits a day.
3 to 4.
No wonder you're putting your rectum on fucking...
I'm surprised your rectum isn't giving you 2
I know.
votes as well, mate.
Well, see, this is where I draw the line. So you're a shower before bed guy. You've cleaned it all out. You're having a shower now.
I shower twice a day. Yep. I shower after gym and then pre-bed.
You mean after your public transport journey? So you subjected that dirty, just sweaty, just gym-laden body of yours to Greg and our other sort of transport passengers. Then you get to work and have a shower.
Yes.
Okay.
Just clarifying.
Just want to.
How does the wife feel when sometimes she's got the babies and some days she won't even get one shower in a day, but you're like, nah, got to have 2 showers, especially after a poop. That's it, definite 2 showers every day. Do you feel a bit selfish about that, Steve?
I don't. She's the one to say, get in the shower, you stinky motherfucker. Get in the shower. I'm not going to go to bed with you until you have a shower.
Until that rectum is up to speed.
See, because I just don't get this because I'm wake up, first thing, I'm awake, bam, straight in. And I have the system. Go to the number 2s. I'm the classic shit, shower, shave. I will do those 3. That's my order. That's how I'm doing it. And then for the rest of the day, it's because I'm like our man Tyler, I'm an excessive coffee drinker. Mate, I'm 3.
Goodness.
I'm 3 down by 9 o'clock. And coffees and other. I just don't this whole. I have to shower every time we go to the toilet. It's just not feasible.
I don't shower every time. I shower twice. I poop 3 to 4 times. Obviously, it's 50 to 75%.
But how do you go from 8 to 4 with nothing?
I don't know. I don't ask how the fucking works. I'm just saying. All I'm up. We're talking about the Shit Bloke Awards. I'm giving to them. Look,
Literally.
Let's get off not topic.
Hang on. So public service worker doesn't get paid to take a shit. You must be the only public
I'm working. Yeah, I'm the working man.
I think you're the only bloke that works a somewhat government job that doesn't just use his government-afforded rights. Admittedly, I'm a subcontractor. I'm self-employed. If I'm shitting on my own dime.
Yeah.
Anytime I've worked for somebody else and someone else is paying me, I'm like, right, cool, we get smoko, yeah, get lunch break, yeah.
I'm taking the shit.
I'm taking at least a 20-minute shit during the day. Even if I'm not even going to the toilet, I'm taking my phone, I'm sitting in there for at least 10 minutes. Steve, you are just, I'm not so much, I'm taking your rectum off the Shit Bloke Awards.
Are you?
I'm putting you on there.
One more vote, Esparros.
I feel sorry for your rectum.
I feel sorry for you because you're not taking advantage of the system that is afforded to you.
Really?
You're shitting on your own time, mate. You could be getting paid. Like my best mate Andy, old Fat Guts, who doesn't even listen to the show. That's why I keep calling him Fat Guts. He will call me from the toilet at work to let me know he's getting paid to go to the toilet.
Good man.
Well, let's hope Andy's employees aren't listening to this show. But no, look, man, this is what I'm saying. The rectum doesn't play ball, man.
Yep.
This is why he's getting the votes. He shits at the inappropriate time.
Yes.
And that is especially after you got a clean ass and you rock up to work all clean and shit, feeling fresh as a motherfucker, and then all of a sudden, ding, 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 uh-oh, poop time.
I'm with
Good
you on
ass.
this one. I'm with you. You've changed my mind. I hate your rectum as much as you.
I think this is like one of the worst moments in. This is the reason why we don't let Steve choose a lot of topics, because 2 weeks in a row, 2 topics, both
is a great
involving
show. I like this
taking
one.
a shit.
I reckon this show's better than ours. Fucking hell.
But we're gonna go from that funny shit into some serious shit. Like that segue.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a fan of a good segue.
The fact that I've got all of you guys here, we're going to have a little quick chat. Like I said, this is going to wrap up our show. It's the first time we've all been together since what's happened. Just a few. We did record a show and it didn't quite go on the air, and I wanted to do another one while we're here, boys. Just a few thoughts and words on the great man Cole Devani, the guy that sort of trained us all to become professional wrestlers. He's pretty much the reason why we're all sitting here together today.
Yep, no
Just
question
like
about
to
that.
have you guys here have a few words, starting with Steve.
Guy's a dream catcher. He provided us and made all of our dreams a reality. And there's not too many men on this planet that I can confidently say that about. And he's one of them. Just an absolute kind of legend of the business that we have been involved in at some kind of shape or form of our lives. And if it wasn't for Cole, like you said, Speed, that wouldn't have happened. And the amount of people that guy has brought together with that common thing that we call pro wrestling is quite incredible. I mean, we're talking about, thousands of people that he's brought together. And man, what do you say? Without him, like you said, we wouldn't be here, and we'll be indebted to him for the rest of our lives. There's no question about it.
So everyone's looking at me like I'm next. Okay. You know what? Cole Devani, he was such an inspiration. You know what? The little fucker scared the living shit out of me. You know what? Again, Steve, I can't, disagree with whatever you said there about him. It was great. He was a father figure to us. Okay, he was a big father figure to us. He always wanted to make sure that we were safe, always made sure that we practice everything that we've done. He taught us a lot. And you know what? Out of his teaching, I've made 4 good friends out of this. 5, there's a few out there that I can class as really good friends. But 4 of them are sitting here with me right now, and I'm forever grateful for that. And that was from Cole Devani's doing. Thank you again, Cole.
Look, I think there's going to be probably 5 sentiments very, very similar here as we go around. Steve, I know you captured that beautifully. Absolute dream catcher. I think for me, I'm really, really thankful and grateful that he saw, a really upcoming, just amazing talent that was Tyler Daniels. So, good. I appreciate him being able to recognise, the superstar that was. So, no, look, in all seriousness, you're absolutely right. He brought a lot of people together, gave a lot of people a start and a dream. And Rocky, you mentioned before that, it's not often that you're the youngest guy in the room. It's interesting that I'm the oldest guy in the room, and I was the last one to start with Cole. So it's an interesting take on that. But that said, he looked at me as an older guy starting in the business, and he didn't shy away from that. He went, yep, no, look, you want to have a crack at this? Let's see what you can do. And he went, yep, I'll teach you. You come along, let's do it. So a guy who truly gave you as much as you gave him in regard to whatever you wanted to put in that, you put into that, he will give you back out of that. And for that, if it wasn't for him, the SA wrestling scene wouldn't be what it was, if there would be one. Mm-hmm. To be fair, he has brought hundreds of thousands of people together, as I said. He has been the godfather, if you like, of the modern era in that sense. So, in that sense, it's a shame he's gone, but I think we all had a number of years we're very, very thankful to have shared that with him. So thank you to Cole.
Yeah, good on your boys, spot on. For me, it was just I guess, at a time in his life when he had walked away from wrestling, and for him to come back into it to give us a chance, because wrestling was, let's face it, was dead, particularly in Adelaide. He came out of obscurity to come out and train a handful of us, which then grew into a large group, which then grew into several groups, and into what we have today. Look, man, I love the dude, man. And I cherished especially the later moments with him. As the time was coming close. These are times that, and I don't want to sound this corny because it's certainly not corny, and I don't want it to sound like it's forced, but it was just I would go to his place and we would talk, man. And I love them moments, man. It reminded me when we started, man. I'd sit there Friday afternoon down at Paraka and we would just talk for 3 hours. I just want to know shit. And he had shit to tell me, and I love that, man. Personally for me, who didn't have a strong father figure in my life, he was that dude, man. So I love that dude. It's sad that he's not here, but that's life, But what he's passed on to me, I got some good buddies, some real good fucking buddies that I never would have met. So thankful for many, many things. So yeah, shout out to Cole.
He always called me a wog, so fuck that guy.
You still are. What do you mean always? You still are.
No. In fairness, no. He was the definition of tough love for us. And he's the reason why for years I've always struggled with teaching people, because I've always taught people the way that I was taught by Cole. And if you didn't show him your passion and didn't match it, mate, he wasn't going to give you anything. The best compliment I ever received from him was, you know what, that wasn't bad. And I wanted to fucking get something better than that out of him, so I tried. And he knew that, so he would tap into that. He knew how to tap into us. He knew that I really wanted it, so he would just go, yeah, it's not bad. Because I knew if he'd said I was good, I'd probably be like, yeah, fuck, I'm good. I already had a bad enough fucking ego as it was. Not anymore. I'm.
No, you've got 3 egos now.
That's right.
Hey,
But, and
Speed.
there's more growing.
Rocky, you're an all-round nice guy.
Oh, thanks, mate. Cheers. But it's just one of those things. He was the perfect guy for a group of young lads that wanted to live their dream, and he knew how to sort of steer us in our own ways. He knew which boys were competitive, which boys needed to pick me up, which boys needed this. And same as Steve. I've sat there in the gym chatting to him for hours. One time I even had a concussion at training, and I was literally talking to him for about an hour after training, and he was Charlie Brown's teacher, just wah, 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 wah. I don't remember a word of it, but he knew that I had a concussion.
Yeah.
But he was just talking to me to make sure I didn't go home and go to sleep. He was well aware of it. He wasn't going to sugarcoat. He wasn't going to baby me because that wasn't his style.
Yep.
But he knew how to look after us.
Yeah.
And it still gets me to this day, because I didn't have that close a relationship with him where I would go to his house or anything, but I'd talk to him on the phone every now and then, get a message. But still to this day, every time I rock up to a wrestling show, I'm expecting him to be there.
Yeah.
And it still hasn't hit me that he's not going to be there.
Sad.
So,
Very sad,
yeah.
Hey, did you get the opportunity to give him one of your T-shirts at any point? No. And I know that sounds weird.
He wasn't going for no deadlift wrestling.
He's still waiting for those DVDs.
The only reason I say that is I got to give him one of my T-shirts in the later years, and it was a real thrill for me that he wanted one of my T-shirts. To know that I'd got to a position and a point where I could get merch out, and he wanted one of those because that was one of his boys that had done that.
Yeah.
So I never sold the T-shirts back in the day, so I never...
No,
so
it was only the later years, as I say,
Yeah.
but that was a thrill for me to be able to give that.
He was still bugging me. Have you got those bloody photos for me? He's always asking for photos.
You got those
And I never had them.
DVDs.
It's sort of ending our show on a bit of a somber note. But, on behalf of everyone here, we'd like to just say, thank you.
Absolutely.
We never really got a chance to actually do this on air.
Yep.
It means a lot to us, for the other 17 people listening. We hope you appreciated that.
His year anniversary's coming up real soon too.
Well, there we go. So we're going to raise the glass, guys. We're all going to have a toast.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Cheers to Cole Devani. Thank you very much,
That's going to
Dad.
be us for this week, guys. Sorry to end on a sad note, but that's what we love doing. We like messing with you. So for Speed Carroll, I want to say goodbye. For Steve Burrows,
See you later.
Cannibal Chris Taylor,
See ya.
Sex Appeal Steve O'Neill,
Thanks, guys.
and some different dude over here, Tyler Daniels.
Thanks, guys.
We'll speak to you next week. Peace.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.